Hello there, I'm Monica Reinagel, and this is the Nutrition Diva podcast. Welcome. Our topic today is fish. Is it really as good for you as everyone says? Well, not necessarily. So today I have some tips on how to be sure you're getting the maximum benefit from the seafood that you're eating. But first, we have a question that came in on the Nutrition Diva listener line about bagged salad kits.
Hi, Monica. I have a question about these salad kits that you see in the supermarkets. They seem to be getting really popular. I use them a lot, and I have always kind of wondered what you think of the nutritional value of these kits. I try to eat healthy, but I absolutely hate to cook, so they seem like they'd be a good option for me. I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts on this. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All fresh produce is subject to some nutrient losses, and the additional processing of washing and cutting and bagging the lettuce may slightly increase those losses. But once it's in the bag, the nutrient losses may actually be slower than for produce that's shipped loose. As long as you're buying and consuming these salad kits by the best by date that's marked on the package, you're still going to be getting lots of nutrition from those bagged salad kits. And if the convenience means that you eat more salads than you otherwise would, that makes the salad kits infinitely more nutritious than the salad you're not eating. So I wouldn't give it another thought. Anything that helps you eat more vegetables is a great choice. And if you have a question for me, you can call the Nutrition Diva listener line at 443-961-6206, and you might hear your voice on an upcoming episode. And if you'd rather not have your voice on the podcast, you can just tell me that in your message. Either way, I'd love to hear from you. Now let's dig into this week's topic. Health authorities around the globe, from the American Heart Association to the United Kingdom's National Health Service to the Australian Dietary Guidelines, all recommend eating 2 to 3 servings of fish or seafood per week. Fish is a great source of protein, and it's low in saturated fat. It can be a good source of zinc, selenium, and omega-3 fatty acids. And fish consumption has been linked with a lower risk of heart disease, depression, type 2 diabetes, and even Alzheimer's. But there seems to be a little more to this story, as was revealed in a meta-analysis of 14 studies involving almost 1 million subjects and published in the journal Public Health Nutrition. Several studies have found that people who eat more fish live longer, healthier lives with a linear relationship between fish consumption and life expectancy. In other words, the more fish you eat, the longer you live. Statistically, anyway. Individual mileage may vary. And yet, other studies have found no relationship between fish consumption and reduced disease risk or mortality. In other words, if you put a dot on a graph for each person with servings of fish per week on one axis and age of death at the other, you can't connect the dots in anything that looks remotely like a line. Even more bizarrely, some studies have observed a J-shaped curve in the association between fish consumption and mortality. That means you can connect all the dots in a line, but it's not a straight line. As servings of fish increase from 0 to 1 serving per week, the risk of early death goes down slightly. But then the risk of early death starts to increase again as fish consumption increases. At 2 servings per week, your risk is the same as if you didn't eat fish at all. And from there, your risk of early death increases very slightly with every additional ounce of fish that you eat. What on earth is going on here? You might guess that it has something to do with mercury or other contaminants, but this does not seem to be the case. The subjects in these pooled studies with the highest intake of mercury, either because of the amount or the type of fish they ate, actually had lower risks. Another good guess would be that something other than the fish, some other aspect of diet or lifestyle, was in fact responsible for the increased risk. Although it's impossible to completely account for these type of variables, the analysis did control and adjust the findings to account for factors such as fruit and vegetable intake and red meat consumption, and those things did not appear to explain the paradox. The striking difference in the shape of the association between fish consumption and mortality, linear versus J-shaped, turns out to be a regional one. Studies on Asian populations from China and Japan showed a nearly linear association between fish consumption and mortality. But studies from the US and Europe showed that mysterious J-shaped association. This led the researchers, who, by the way, were neither Asian nor Western, they were from Iran, to zero in on two factors: the type of fish typically consumed and the method of preparation. Specifically, in the West, we consume a lot of the fish that are relatively low in omega-3 fatty acids, things like tilapia, shrimp, catfish, cod, and haddock. Although these fish are still good sources of protein and other nutrients, and they are low in saturated fat, they don't seem to provide the same life-extending benefits as fish that are high in omega-3s, such as herring, mackerel, sardines, and wild salmon and tuna. The other factor that seems to play a role here is how we cook our fish. While Asians are more likely to steam their fish, Westerners are much more likely to deep fry it. If high fish consumption is most likely high fried fish consumption, it's not surprising that it's not reducing our disease risks. Along those same lines, in the Nutrition GPA app that I developed, eating fish raises your grade for the day, but eating fried foods lowers your nutrition grade for the day. So eating fried fish is essentially a wash. It doesn't move your grade up or down. And if you'd like to check that out, the Nutrition GPA app is free and it's available at nutritiongpa.com. Now, before you blow up my inbox, let me say that these big studies reflect average eating patterns across wide swaths of the population. And I'm pretty sure that your eating habits are at the healthy end of that spectrum. But for every one of you enjoying a tin of sardines for lunch or grilled salmon for dinner, there are a lot more fried fish platters and sandwiches being served up in cafeterias and fast food restaurants. And that's probably what's bending that J-shaped curve up. I still recommend aiming for at least 2 servings of fish per week, but to get the maximum health benefit, make sure that at least one of those servings is a fish that's high in omega-3 fats. And try to avoid eating fried fish more than once a week. I'll be back next week with a closer look at electrolytes and sports drinks. When do sports drinks make sense? And what is the best way to replace electrolytes that we lose when we sweat? The best way to be sure you don't miss that is to subscribe to the Nutrition Diva podcast wherever you listen. You'll find a transcript of today's show along with the entire Nutrition Diva archives at quickanddirtytips.com. And you'll find more information about my nutrition coaching programs at nutritionovereasy.com. Our show is produced by Nathan Sems, edited by Karen Hertzberg. Our audience developed czar is Morgan Ratner. Our advertising ninja is Michelle Margulis. Our indispensable marketing assistant is Emily Miller. And our incredibly talented intern is Michaela Prell. Our team is led by Kathy Doyle, but we do it all for you, our listeners. So thanks for being here. I'll see you next week.